What's up, guys? So this past week, I've been having this taste for some really good tacos. And I'm not talking about Taco Bell tacos. I'm talking about like as close to Mexican or authentic Mexican tacos as Dominican Republic can get. That's what I've been wanting to, I've been having a taste for, especially like the birria tacos, man. I just been having a taste for them. So last night I found me a spot over here in Naco. I didn't even know it was there, man. This place is kind of like ducked off in the cut somewhere. So I decided to go over there before I hit the cigar bar to have dinner. So I go over there, order my food, eat my food. The tacos were okay. Wasn't the best I've had here, but the birria tacos were pretty good. The presentation was really nice. It wasn't that it was bad, but it just wasn't like as flavorful as I'm used to having birria tacos. So this guy walks in, he's with a woman. I don't know whether it's his girlfriend or his wife, but as he walks in, he looks at me and then he comes up before he gets, the lady takes him to be seated. He said, "Hey, what's up, Jay? Man, I really like your videos. Hey, man, I appreciate your content, or I appreciate your videos," something to that nature. And so I asked him his name. He said, "Hey, my name is Daniel." And he said, "Just keep up the good work." So I say that to say, man, that, I'm ducked off in the cut somewhere at this this taco place and wouldn't even realize or think that somebody would come in there and notice me. And I'm gonna tell you, man, it's still kind of weird for me to be places and people come up to me and notice me. And I'm not gonna say like it happens all the time, but I kind of see how my wife used to be when it used to happen to her before I even got on YouTube, or I would say before I got on YouTube, because I've been on YouTube just as long as she has, but before I started doing the Dominican content, I could see how she felt when people would just run up on her and show their appreciation for her content. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this video because I know why you guys are here. You guys want to know whether you should ship your car to Dominican Republic, if that's a good idea or not, and how much does it cost to do it. So the first question is, should you ship your car to Dominican Republic? And I say with that is a personal decision. Some people think it's a good idea. Some people think it's a bad idea. Now, people who say that's a good idea, I understand, because for us, when we shipped our car, it was a good idea for us. Now, people who say it's a bad idea, it may be a bad idea for them, but it all comes down to a personal decision. So with that being said, I'm gonna tell you why we thought that it was a good idea for us to ship our car here to Dominican Republic. And I'm going to break down the cost and everything that was associated when we shipped our car. So before we get started, let me tell you the qualifications in order to ship your car over here. Your car can be no more than 5 years old in order for you to ship it to Dominican Republic. Now, this may vary or differ for people who are Dominican citizens who are retiring back to the country. I think that rule doesn't apply to them. I'm not sure. I'm talking about foreign expats who move here from their homeland that are not Dominican citizens. Your car cannot be more than 5 years old. When we shipped our car was a 2015. We moved here in 2021. And I know you're gonna say, but that's 6 years. Here's the caveat. You have a 6-month grace period after that 5th year, meaning that you really have 5 years and 6 months to actually ship the car. So our grace period was up in June of 2021. That's when our grace period would have ended. So we moved here in March of 2021. So we beat the grace period by 3 months. Also, your car must be completely paid for and in your name. You cannot ship a car that you are currently financing. The paperwork has to be in your name. And in our case, our car was paid off. So that's one reason why we decided to ship our car is because it was paid off already. And I'm gonna give you another caveat that I wish I had known way ahead of time when we decided that we were gonna move here and we wanted to ship our car here also. And that caveat is, if you have a Dominican spouse who is a citizen here, you can receive a big tax break on shipping your car. And I know you're saying, well, why didn't you get a tax break and you're married to a Dominican? The reason why was the car wasn't in her name. The car was in my name. When we bought the car, I bought it in my name. And I know you're gonna say, well, why didn't you transfer it to her name? Because before I found this information out, the car has to be in that person's name, that Dominican's name, for a whole year. So in order for me to take advantage of that tax break, I would have had to put the car in her name and wait a whole nother year in order for us to receive that tax break. And it wasn't worth it. I wasn't gonna wait a whole year. I mean, a tax break is great, but a couple of $1,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or how much ever it is, it all depends on the value of your car. It wasn't worth me staying over there in the US for another year just to receive that. So if you're planning to move to Dominican Republic with your spouse in the next year or so, and you want to ship your car, put it in their name right now. That way, when they ship it or when you guys ship it, you can ship it and you can receive those tax breaks. All right, so that's a caveat there. For us, our thinking was, the reason why we wanted to ship our car is, like I told you, it was already paid for, and we understood that cars here are expensive. Now, before we jump into how much cars cost here, let me say this. Well, I'm gonna get back to that later in the video so you guys can kind of understand, because a lot of times people just, they just say these crazy things or say things, oh man, the cars are expensive, they trying to get over and this and that. Guys, you gotta really understand certain things before you just start saying stuff that you have no idea what you're talking about. Cars are expensive, but they're expensive here for a reason. And it's for the obvious reasons. I don't know why people don't understand that, but we're gonna get into that. So, but first, let me say this. I'm gonna help you guys out. For those who are thinking about shipping their car here, I'm gonna make it a little bit easier on you than it was on us when we actually shipped our car. We're gonna go through the numbers, we're gonna break it down and all that stuff. But you also gotta keep in mind that we were living in Fort Lauderdale. So we shipped our car from the port in Fort Lauderdale at the Everglades. So we didn't have to pay any transportation fee to get it to a port. We just drove it down to the port. So take in consideration where we were and where you are. If you are in Ohio and you want to ship a car, then you're gonna have to add to the cost of you getting that car actually to a port. And then you could take the numbers I'm giving you, and then you can kind of like do the math. But you can't take the numbers I'm giving you and you live in Ohio or you live in St. Louis and think it's gonna be the same. No, you're gonna have to get that car to some port, whichever port that is. I don't know. The only port I know is in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure there are more, but that's the only port I know of is in Fort Lauderdale, and also Miami, of course. But that's the only ones I know of. So the way we shipped our car, because we were new at it ourselves, the way we shipped our car is we went online, tried to find a shipping company. So we ended up shipping it through a third-party shipping company. At the time, we didn't even know they were third party. We were green to it, so we didn't know it was third party. The cost to ship the car that they quoted us was $1,400. We didn't realize at the time we could have went straight to the source, the company who actually ships the cars, and got a better deal. And how do we know that? Because when we went down to take our car to the port, we took it to the company that was actually shipping it. When we got there the first day, we got there late and they didn't accept the car. So while we were in there, we were talking to the people and they were like, yo, yeah, we the shipping company. They're just a third party, but you could have brought it to us and this is the rate. And the rate that they quoted us, if we would have went straight to them, was $990. So that means that the third party people made a little bit over $400 profit by us going through them, and they didn't do anything. And now looking back on it, those third party companies, those are not even like I don't want to say they're not real companies. They may be real companies on paper, but there's somebody sitting in their apartment who decided that they want to create a company and be the middleman between people who want to ship cars. So when you're going online and you're looking for how to transport your car from here to Dominican Republic, most of these companies that's coming up are third-party companies. The company that ships it, I never seen that company even show up in Google when I did how to transport a car from the US to Dominican Republic. And you don't even know the actual company that's going to be shipping your car until you make payment with this third-party company, and you make your reservation, and then they tell you to take it down there. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, this is not the company that I paid to ship it. I paid somebody else to ship it, which they're paying this company to ship it, and they're making a profit off of. Hey man, you can't hate the player, you gotta hate the game. You know, I get it. But I'll tell you the company that we used to ship our car, third party. I'm telling you right now, there's no need to use them because you can go straight to the company. I'll give you that name too. But who we used was Ultimate Transport 123. They were the company that we used to actually ship the car. The company that shipped the car, that actually we put it on their boats, was Crowley. Crowley, Crowley. Just go straight to Crowley. Don't worry about these third-party people. Save you about $400 or $500 and you'll be fine. So we left the United States on March 13th, 2021. We dropped our car off at the port on March 12th, 2021. And we were told once the car ships, it'll take 5 to 7 days to arrive at the port here in Santo Domingo. And they didn't lie about that. That was true. But what they didn't tell us is that the car had to be at the port at least a week before the sale date for inspection before they actually shipped it off. So that means that even if you arrived, if you took the car there on a Saturday, or just say a Friday, and the sale date was Sunday, which they do it once a week every Sunday, your car has to stay there until the following Sunday. They didn't tell us that. So our car ended up staying there until about, I think it didn't ship off until April the 3rd. It ended up arriving in Santo Domingo on April the 7th. So it only took about 2 to 3 days for the car to arrive. And the car arrives in Santo Domingo Oeste in a place at the port of Haina. So if you guys know what a port of Haina is, it's like if you're going down the Malecon on George Washington, instead of going toward, Zona Colonial, you head the other way going towards San Cristobal. You have to go down there to the port to retrieve the car. That's where your car is going to be delivered at. And also, before I get into the breakdown of the numbers and what we paid to get our car here, let me just say this, because I heard people ask this too. Can we put our belongings in the car? And the answer to that is absolutely not. You can't have anything in that car. It's like some people want to put their suitcase in there, so they don't have to pay to put it on the plane or anything like that, or they don't have to pay to ship it separate. They can just put it in the trunk of their car. That's not going to happen. You leave them the keys and they're going to go through and they're going to make sure nothing is in their car. So no, you cannot put anything in the car as you're shipping it. It's supposed to have, I think, a full tank of gas, and I forgot something else. But no, you can't have anything in the car. You have to get everything out of the car. All right, so before I get into the cost, I want to say that we had a dealership receive our car. My wife has a family member who works at a dealership who was able to receive the car, which for us, it made a lot of sense because you don't have to go through all this paperwork yourself. They're used to doing it and they know exactly where to dot the I's, cross the T's, and slash the Q's. So we didn't have to figure any of that out. And also, dealerships pay less taxes, slightly less taxes to receive cars than just regular people who come here and ship their car. Reason is they do it for a business. So of course the government gives them some minor or some small tax breaks. So we use them. So there are some fees that you're gonna have to pay when you ship your car. Now, the number one fee and the most expensive fee is the import taxes. Our import taxes were 147,000 pesos, which comes out to be about 2,600 US. That was our import taxes. And how they calculate that is based on the value of your car. At the time we shipped our car, they valued it at about 10 grand. Now, I don't know what that percentage is. They have a formula that they use to calculate that rate, but ours came out to be about 2,600 US. So let me put this in perspective. If you're shipping a Mercedes, or you're shipping a BMW or a Volvo, you're gonna pay a higher import tax because theoretically that car is gonna be valued more than our Honda Veloster. We had a Honda Veloster and it was a 2015. And even if you had a 2015 Benz shipping that was 5 years old, depending on the condition, which our car was in great condition, and if the Benz is in great condition, it's gonna be valued way more than $10,000. So your import taxes is gonna be more. So keep that in mind. The next fee I had to pay, or we had to pay, was our first tag fee. And that fee was 90,000 pesos. And this was at this time about 1,600 USD. And this was to get the first tag, meaning once you got it off the port, you gotta have a tag. Now, you can't get a provisional tag. It's about 3,000 pesos, about $55, but you only use that 3 months. And then if you really know somebody, they'll extend it for you for another 3 months. And if you really know somebody, they can extend it for another 3 months, but you can't go beyond that. I knew somebody that knew somebody, so I was able to do mine for 6 months. So we extended ours for about 6 months before we actually got our tag. If you buy a car here in Dominican Republic, there's no 90,000 peso or $1,600 fee to get a tag. That's only when you ship the car. It's much or less expensive than that if you buy a car here. So I don't want you thinking that, oh man, to get a tag is gonna be $1,600. Nah, it's not gonna be $1,600. That's just the first tag once it gets here. And the next fee was the dealership fee, and that's us using their service to get the car, and it was 25,000 pesos. That's about $415. Now, if you wanna do it yourself, you can eliminate the $415. It's totally up to you. And so the next fee we had to pay was the administration fee. And the administration fee is them, the dealer, getting all the paperwork together to walk down to the port or ride down to the port to submit that paperwork in order for them to receive the car. It's not like you can just walk on the port, hey man, you got that red Veloster? Hey, give me the key. It doesn't work like that. You gotta have the right paperwork, they submit it, and then you get your car. So that fee is for them to do that. So that was the last fee, and that totaled up to be about 270,000 pesos, which is about 4,700 or 4,800 US. So if you take that 4,736 plus the 1,400, you come up with about $6,100 or $6,200 US for us in total to ship the car, to receive the car, to put the first tag, and you're legal driving around the Dominican Republic. It cost us about $6,100 to $6,200. Now, I already know what somebody's gonna say. I just know it. I've been doing this too long. Man, with $6,200, you could have just bought a car over there and not have to go through all that headache. And see, when people say that, those are the people I know that don't know anything about the Dominican Republic and when it comes to cars here. Because to buy a car here and you only have $6,200, you don't realize what type of car you're gonna get here for $6,200. If you got $6,200 in Dominican Republic, you're gonna be riding around in a Beetle bug. And I'm not talking about a Volkswagen bug, I'm talking about a bug. You're not gonna be able to stretch your feet. Your legs, especially if you're 6'2", like 6'1", 6'2", like me, you're not gonna be able to stretch your legs. You're gonna get in the front seat, but you're gonna be driving from the back seat. So $6,200 is not gonna get you the type of car that you want. It'll get you a smaller, maybe a small car, and it's gonna be older, it's gonna have a lot of miles on it, but it's not gonna be the car that you possibly want. And then I could hear somebody saying this also. You could have sold your car and made 10,000, and you could have went over there with 10,000 and bought a car. And I say the same thing. You're not gonna find the car that you want pretty much for $10,000. Actually, to be honest with you, 10,000 is a little bit below the starting rate. When you talking about looking for a car here, man, you better come up talking about, 12,000. If you're trying to get a decent car, what we would consider a decent car in the United States and not a lemon, you better start looking at around $12,000. That's just how it is. And I'm not saying you can't find a car for $10,000, but you probably can. It's gonna be high mileage and it's gonna be an older car. With us, we bought our car brand new. We know the service and the maintenance that was on it. So we didn't have to worry about if it was gonna break down on us once we drove it off the lot or once we got it here, anything like that, because we had serviced it ourselves. So that was our reasoning why we did it. Now, some people may see different. That's just our preference. If you think it's better for you to spend $6,000 or $10,000 on a car, sell your car over there, depending on how much it is. Now, if you got a car over there and it's $12,000, and you can get $12,000 for it, you want to come over here and buy a $12,000 car, hey, that's fine. That's just your preference. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. To answer a person's question when they say, is it a good idea? I don't know. It just depends on what you're looking for. Like I said, if you got a car that you know that is a solid car, you don't want to chance it by buying something over here that may or may not work. Because I tell you, you got to watch some of the cars they sell over here. They'll put a Band-Aid on it and they'll sell it to you. So you just want to be careful. And now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy a car here, because we bought another car here. My wife bought an SUV here. We bought an SUV over here. Even when we first bought it, we had to take it back maybe a week or so after we bought it for them to fix something on it that wasn't fixed. But we hadn't had any issues out of it, since then. Just minor things like you got to do the oil change and your tires and things like that. But it wasn't nothing that was, that we had to fork out a lot of money on it. But what I'm saying is, over in the States, it's a little bit more quality when you buy a used car, depending on where you buy it from, because most dealers, they won't repeat customers. Here sometimes, they don't care about that. They just want your money. Let me say this also. When people say the cars are expensive here, and this is why the cars are expensive. If you've been following me, you kind of understand why cars are expensive here. If you follow what I said my car was valued at $10,000. A 2015 Veloster was valued in 2021 at $10,000. So say for instance, a dealer goes over to the States and buys that car at $10,000. Let's just say an auction. Remember, I just said it, to ship it here and to receive it, it cost me $6,100 total, $6,200 total. You add that $10,000 plus, to just say $6,200, that's $16,200. That's what they're in, give or take more or less. How much you think they're gonna sell that car for? $17,000? Nope. They're gonna sell it for about $23,000. So you'll see a Honda Veloster 2015 back then in 2021, maybe sitting on a lot for $23,000, and you're looking at like, man, they're crazy. I get that same car in the States for $10,000, but that's why it's expensive. It's the import taxes. And they're all in by the time they get here, so they gotta make a profit. So it's not that they're trying to get over. Now, don't get me wrong, you do have people that jack up prices on some things, but you gotta also understand that they're all in on a lot of money before it even hits their lot. So of course, they wanna make their money back and they need to get a profit. So I think I covered everything in terms of shipping your car here to Dominican Republic. If I left anything out, leave it in the comment below, or you can email me and ask me the question, but I think I covered everything. So remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're gonna live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.
Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, no.